In this week's episode of Let's Talk Dog Business, Joe and I get deep and raw and real and interrogate each other on all things behind the business.
I want to delve into today something that I don't think a lot of people do consciously or would maybe even think about. But it's when you are running your own business, it's all very well and good to hear and be told and to see all of the stuff that you feel like you air quote should be doing. But actually, what's the impact that it has on the person behind it? So we both wanted to actually just kind of open the doors to our lives a little bit today, which is a bit scary, but we really wanted to let you in a little bit, I suppose, because we know that we feel like we're quite open anyway, and we feel that you have got a good measure of us, our lovely listeners out there. But just finding out a little bit more about everything that sits behind it, because I think externally, for every business owner, regardless as to what industry you're in, you can always see the messaging that gets put out there and how crafted it can be and how you feel like you're never going to measure up to something because it's what somebody else wants you to see. It's a version of them, but it's not necessarily everything that goes on behind the scenes. And it's something that you shouldn't necessarily see either on the outside, but I think it's really important to talk about it, because otherwise, where does that get spoken about? Because it's not always appropriate, is it, to put your life laundry, as you've mentioned before, out there in the big world. But there's obviously that stuff that's going to be happening behind the scenes, and it will impact how you feel about your business and how you're going to run it.
Mm. And there is a lot that goes on behind the scenes that people wouldn't necessarily know about us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it does affect us. Like, it's a good job we've got each other to talk to, isn't it? Because I imagine if you're doing this solo, it's hard. It's hard enough having somebody else to bounce your feelings off and your ideas off, but having nobody in your corner, it's got to be really hard, hasn't it?
Yeah. And I think that's, well, we're really big, isn't it, on making sure that for us, one of our missions is to create that community for that safe place. And we can see that it's starting to happen, not only in our world, but with everybody else that's out there as well. So, I think it's important to have that community behind you. And yes, I'm incredibly grateful that I have you in my corner as well, because doing this on my own would be challenging. But then I think there's also challenges of doing it together as well, because you're consciously thinking of the other one more than potentially you always should. Do you know what I mean? Like, anytime a decision needs to be made or something, if it's a big decision and it's a non-emotional one, they're fine. You can talk about those till the cows come home. But then if it's something where we're like, oh, actually, I can see how that could potentially impact the other because of, I don't know, like family life going on or some other shit that's happening, you may be less inclined to want to do it, or you then lean into parts of your personality. So it's something that we've been going through recently, isn't it? And that I've realised that I lean in on my personality of just, I say taking over, and I hate it, and I hate describing it as taking over, but I've been crucially aware of it recently because you've had shit going on and wobbled. But by me leaning in on that, which arguably works well for the business, can cause sometimes a non-issue in the relationship.
Yeah. And I don't know, do we tell the story about the book writing process?
Yeah. It's our value, raw and real.
Okay, let's go for it. So as some of you might know, we're writing a book, or we've just finished writing a book, excitingly. And the process has been quite, been a bit of a road, hasn't it? The process of doing it. At first, it was a bit overwhelming for both of us because we're like, oh my God, we've put this really tight deadline on the book. I had 2 holidays. You had 1 holiday in the time frame that we had, which was 8 weeks? Was it 8 weeks?
What, my whole holiday?
No, I don't. Yeah, you bloody had 8 weeks of. I had to write the book on my own. You know, that's the end of the story. That's why we didn't speak. No. So it was 8 weeks that we had to write the book, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
And you were away for 2 of those weeks. I then had separate holidays, 1 week and then another weekend or whatever. Or 2 weekends, I can't remember. Anyway, the pressure started to feel quite real for me because I hadn't. I don't know. Somewhere in my head, I'd got the timeline wrong and I thought we had an extra month, but we didn't. So for whatever reason, I suddenly started feeling very pressured about the book and feeling like it wasn't going to happen. And felt, because I do this sometimes, felt myself to throw the toys out the pram a little bit. And we're like, I can't do it. I just can't do this bloody thing. It's too difficult. Why did we do this? And getting all, not angry, but very frustrated with it. And almost frustrated with the timeline we put on ourselves and the deadline we put on ourselves, because I was like, why the hell did we do this to ourselves? And there was that period, wasn't there, where we spoke to Chloe, our publisher, and we sort of sorted that out. And then everything was going back on the right trajectory. And I felt really good about the book because it enabled me to get a lot of stuff out that actually a lot of it's been culled now in the writing process. But it was nice because I was bringing things out from when I was a lot younger that I didn't feel like I needed to write about, but they sort of helped me on that journey to write the book. So that was nice. So I felt really good about that. And I was committing to it pretty much every day, like a little bit every day. And so that was quite good. And then what was the period where it started getting icky again? So I had another holiday the last week of the deadline. You had
another holiday and we had, it was like 48 hours to the deadline because we've been busy doing loads of other stuff. It was a crunch point of 48 hours and we looked at it and then I think we realised that we'd both, or rather I had the realisation, and I think this is where the sticky bit possibly came in. I had the realisation that there were elements of that book that we had both used as a little bit of a Dear Diary moment.
Absolutely. And when I say culled, a lot of it we did, because it was literally us pouring our hearts out in ways that maybe would have been appropriate for a memoir.
Yes.
But maybe not for a business book.
Yes, absolutely. And it was at that time where it was like, right. And that's when that personality trait in me was like, right, I just need to get on with this. And I'm doing it from a place of love in that I knew you were away and you had stuff going on. And I know that the relationship background stuff with you being away with Gareth was all kind of like creeping in and going like, oh, I just don't want to take any more time away from you. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'll do it. I won't. And at that time, I wasn't even thinking like, I'll fix it. I was like, I'll just get it done so we meet the deadline. But then, of course, when I opened it, I was like, fucking hell, like we've done real Dear Diary shit here. It is an intense outpouring of emotion, which is not the purpose of that book. And I could see why we needed to get it out of our systems because it's part of that personal journey, isn't it? And that self-development.
And it's weird actually, because although it's now not in there, a lot of that stuff, I feel like I'm better for getting it out and even just deleting it again, which sounds really strange.
Yeah.
But because it came out and I saw it in black and white on a screen and read it and got emotional about it and really unexpectedly, I feel better for it.
Yeah. And this was the hard bit for me because I knew exactly all of that stuff, but I was like, it's not right. So I had to take some of it out and stitch it in. And I was like, I can't even talk to you because you're not here. So I'm trying to do it over messaging, which of course then gets misconstrued because it's text. And even if you're using voice and we're using our voice, because it was such a personal piece and there was so much emotion attached to it, you had a bit of a strop, didn't you?
Yeah. I did. And I thought I was having a private strop that Jo didn't realise that I was having, but she absolutely realised I was having it.
I know you inside out.
So she starts like, the fear of, am I still alive, was another message and another message. Are you okay? Is everything all right? Are you feeling all right? Like all these things. And I was just like, do you know what? I can't even deal with them. So I'd look at them and sometimes reply with a one-word answer. That's when the strop became quite obvious.
Yeah.
And it wasn't at you. That it wasn't aimed at you. It was almost the realisation of what you'd said about it's like a Dear Diary was ringing in my ears. And I was like, you're so bloody right. I know you're right. And yet, oh my God, I've done this and I've given my all into this and I'm really proud of what I've written. And in any other context, it was great writing from both of us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was well written. It came from the heart. It was, you could see it in the text. It was there. And I knew she was right and I couldn't accept that she was right. And that was part of the reason why I just couldn't reply to her in the way that, well, I didn't want to not start a fight, but I didn't want it to be a thing. And then inadvertently became a thing because of my lack of replies. It was like this tumbleweed. I love tumbleweed. I do mention tumbleweed a lot. It was like tumbleweed and you were really craving that because I didn't voice note you all weekend, did I?
Nope.
Not once. And that is really weird for us. We've like, if we don't hear each other's voices every day, that's really odd. And Gareth and
for
Darren
at least about 6 hours of the day as well.
Absolutely attest to that. I'm like, hang on a minute, where's Joe's voice? I haven't heard it today. I'm like, okay. But yeah, so it was just text messages, which was really hard for you to accept, wasn't it?
Yeah, I really struggled that weekend. And I think this is the important bit though of going, like, we're really lucky to have each other to do these things, but then you have these moments and it's like shit at the time, but then actually, like, look at us now, like, okay, it's a couple of weeks past and we're like, oh, do you know what? The wound has healed. And it wasn't even like a big gaping wound, was it? No. But it was just a nice little scratch to go, okay. But I think it kind of came off the back of that retreat we went on.
Yeah.
I think that retreat, my God, it just stripped us out of like everything, didn't it? Like I came back feeling, I don't even know. I don't even want to say broken, but that emotional that anything I spoke about, I feel like I could just cry because everything was at its rawest.
Yeah.
And then there's loads of stuff happening in the background at the moment. And I do want to go there because I think it's important because I'm aware that everybody's going to have different things. And this is a caveat that I am going to get upset on it, but it's important to do it. Here we go. So my mum has been diagnosed with early onset dementia. And everything that we are doing, we are striving to make this industry a much more beautiful place and by connecting people together. So everything that we are doing, yes, I am dealing with this horrendous thing that is happening in my life, but it is not making me show up any less. And I don't mean for that to sound like if anybody else is feeling shitty about something that they should push through if you don't feel like you can. But for me, like, the mission of what we're trying to create is just too important, and it's actually keeping me together a little bit as well. And I think it's just really important that we should be able to talk about these things, as hard as they are. Now, this isn't something that we would post on social media because the messaging's just not right for that. But in this space, it's absolutely perfect because I am certain that there are people out there that are listening to this that are either going through the same or going through something similar. And there are things that affect all of us that will impact how you show up every single day.
Yeah.
And it's more to say that you are not alone on this journey because we are here. And all of our coaching clients can hopefully attest to the fact that we show up in those calls in the exact same way. Because we've done a lot of the work, like we know exactly who we are as a business. We know exactly what our values are. And that helps us show up and it helps us keep moving the business forward, even though we've got all this shit happening in the background. So I feel like it was important for me to share this as hard as it is. And it's going to be ongoing because it's not a thing that you just get over, is it? We're going to have good days, we're going to have bad days. And it's that message of you are not alone. We are here with you no matter what is going on in your life, because we know that there's lots of relationship things that are happening. We get messages saying that people want to invest with working with us, but then their partners don't either agree with it or they don't see the point. And then it can cause rifts in the relationship as well. And I've definitely been on that journey as well.
Yeah.
I think you're in the middle of that journey, aren't you?
Definitely. And I just want to, just before I talk about that, I just want to go back to the impact that we are going to make in this industry with the work that we're doing and the change that we want to make, and everybody around us and like who works with us and who comes on board the community that we're in. Because you want to make your parents proud, don't you? And you're, part of, God, you're making me upset now. And part of the driving force behind this is because you want to show them, look what we're doing, look what we've achieved, and we've got that legacy behind us as well. And so parents look at the journey they've been on to produce us and get us to where we are now, like give something back to them in a way, isn't it? So yes, it's our mission to get this industry amazing, but also to show the people around us that we've got that core and we've got that drive to do it between us as well.
Yeah, which create something for our families.
And for them as well, support them in every way, because, you're going to need to do that for your mom as well. So yeah, I just wanted to say that as well. But yeah, going back to the impact it has on your family, because anyone who is starting to change their business in any way, might be really small ways. It might be that you've just decided to put some boundaries in. It might be that you've decided to do things in a slightly different way, or you decide to increase your prices, or you decide to offer things, structure things differently. You'll feel differently about the business, and you will see that hopefully you're starting to see that you can't just stab in the dark with a business and hope for the best. There has to be a good plan in place, and you have to follow that plan through. And sometimes by following that plan through, people can get left by the wayside on that journey. Oh, I'm going to start to get emotional now. So yeah, that happened to me because my husband runs a business, a successful garage, knows a lot about business, and has given me advice in the past when I was thinking small and just me and doing things in the best way I knew how and just bumbling along, really. So he's given me advice in the past, which has been helpful. But now, because we are looking at this in a really big way, and the growth of this business is already huge and it will become huger, the business strategy for us is very different now. And so the help that he still tries to give me, it's not really relevant. And as much as I try and accept that help still and thank him for it, it takes offence that I won't take that help anymore. And we've got our mentors, and we talk about them on here, and they've helped us get from where we were to where we are now, and they will continue to help us get to reach those goals. But he hears their names and he just like recoils or gets really angry sometimes, I will say, at the fact that I'm listening to them and implementing what they're recommending and not what he's recommending. And that for him is so hard to accept, because I could accept his help before, and now I've changed as a person. And as I've realised that all of this support for us is more necessary because of where we're going, and it's not as probably necessary for him, although I think some of it is, he's kind of lost by it, and he thinks that I'm just heading in a totally different direction that he doesn't know much about.
Yeah. It's the impact doing your business really well has.
Yeah.
And I think the purpose of this episode, whilst it may sound a bit like a counselling bit,
these are memoirs poured out to you guys.
The purpose of this episode is to show that it's not as amazing as it always looks. And almost contradictory to that, it is as amazing as it looks. There is no part of when you love your business wholeheartedly and you've got a real reason for why you're doing what you do, for whatever that reason is, like something is driving you, both externally and internally. Like we've already said that ours is a mixture of our family and the bigger mission for the industry itself. But those two things are our driving force. And those two things come with massive elation and a fuck ton of hard work and grafting, and also a lot of damage control in the background.
Yeah.
And I think the damage control isn't necessarily a bad thing in terms of you're creating this mess. It's the fact that you are growing as a person, and that does impact people around you because you start to evolve and change, and it changes the dynamic of your relationships. And then you get curveballs like these medical things that are now thrown in, and it's something that I'm really struggling with because I can't control it. Everything else I feel like I can control. Like if and when Darren and I have had relationship issues, because again, like I push a lot to grow myself, and we've had times where it's like, oh, seriously? Like, what are we arguing over? Like, what's the point? But then this thing with my mum is like, I can't control this. And it's hard to see what I can do. So I'm grasping onto anything and everything that I can. And it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's bringing it to your attention again. And I apologize if I'm reiterating, but I just don't want anybody to think that no matter what business you're looking at, even if it's not ours, if there's other businesses that you're looking up to and thinking they're amazing, like they've got all this stuff, look at all this, they only have to put this course out and it sells and whatever it is, there is still shit going on behind the scenes. And I think we forget it.
And as your business grows and evolves, new problems are created from it. And that's what we've definitely seen. I've got problems now that I didn't have when I was just doing what I did before and just bumbled along how I was before. I'd got problems feeling frustrated and burnt out and working all the hours God sends. But me and Gareth were tight as anything. Never affected our relationship in that way. And now I'm doing this and I'm doing all these things to help all these people and make everything brilliant. And now I can't, there's times where I felt so far away from him. And that's what's hard.
It is. It's really hard.
And I've really tried to, I did this, I tried to like pull him along with me and like do that because I wanted to close the gap, and then realised he's not going to come along with me. I need to accept that we've got to work things out differently to that because he's not going to think like that because he doesn't need to think like that for his business.
Yeah.
So
it's a whole new normal. So it's figuring out, yes, it's great to put these big business goals in and say like, yeah, you want to be earning the money and you want to have this business and you want to be known for being the best trainer in your local area and all of that. But it's being mindful that I don't even want it to say it like it's a bad thing to want that stuff, because it's not, and that is definitely not what I'm trying to say. It's the awareness that you will change as a person, but that doesn't need to be a bad thing. That needs to just be an understanding of you are growing, you are understanding yourself more, and you are doing something that actually 90% of the population will never do. They will never do this amount of work on themselves to grow and to make a change and to be different. And I don't know if you can ever prepare for it. I think the preparation is having people in your corner. So knowing that we are in your corner, we've got you, we're always here. We've got shit going on, as you can tell, but we're still fully loving everything that we're doing. And I think that's one of the things from a relationship point of view, some people don't always get. They go, you're working all of this and you're not burning out. but they keep telling us that we're going to burn out.
Yeah.
Like I've had it so much, like my whole family's going like, you're doing too much, you're going to burn out. I'm like, I'm not, because the drive's completely different. I'm not frantic about everything. There's been lots of planning that's gone into it. We've built the support system up around us. We've got our own group of people that we invest in. We've got each other. We've invested a lot in building that solid network around us to catch us when we will inevitably have a little fall every now and again, because it's going to happen. It's life. But it's knowing that if you're on that great growth trajectory, just build your network.
Yeah. And communication is key to this.
Mm-hmm.
Like one thing I realised I didn't do very well was talk openly with Gareth enough about what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew what was going to happen. He hadn't got a clue. And suddenly one minute I'm just like who I was, and the next minute I'm someone totally different because I've gone on this journey and I haven't told him what to expect.
Yeah.
And I probably didn't know what to expect myself, to be honest. But I feel like if I'd talked to him a bit more openly, that's what would have changed things for me. And the way I talked to him was telling him about all the exciting things we got coming up, and so many things that he was like, Vic, I don't understand any of this. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. But again, I was like, why don't you understand it? Why is it hard for you to receive this information? Like, and I'm just like verbal diarrheaing all of this, like things we've got coming out. And he's like, but is this your mastermind? Is it the mastermind you go to? Like, what are you talking about when you say mastermind? I'm like, oh, okay. So there I am trying desperately to overcompensate for the fact he's not as involved, trying to drag him along. And in the meantime, he's going, you're actually switching me off.
Yeah.
Like I actually have less of a clue what you're talking about now.
Yeah. It's
so communication, I think, is key for this, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're starting on any journey of growth and change, you enroll in any mentorship program, whether that's a dog training mentorship or a business one, you're going to change.
Mm-hmm.
And so communicate with whoever you live with of going to be prepared for this ride, because I'm not sure what I'm going to go through.
Yeah.
So I want to just keep you on the journey and just not keep you with me, because that is wrong. I don't think that is the right thing to do. And some advice from our business group that we're in, people had gone through similar things in their businesses and said, you won't ever get them to come along with you. All you can do is just communicate it and just sort of explain your position.
Involve, isn't it?
And involve them and, make them feel included, but not try and bring them along with you.
Yeah, it's everyone will always have their opinion on what you do, whether that's where you invest your money, how you invest it, what you're doing for a job, what you're not doing for a job. Everyone will always have an opinion.
And this is where those blockers come in. When sometimes people are desperate to change their business, and gosh, we know enough of you message us for us to know that. But the fear is there, and the fear is often because of what other people are saying, isn't it? That's one of the blockers. Well, probably the big blocker, what other people think, and what if you fail? What if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
What if you spend all that money and it's just thrown down the drain? And we totally get that. I've done that. I've felt exactly the same so many times now. But without that little push, you won't ever change, or know if you can.
Yeah. And I've no idea if this is painting a bleak picture or one that is actually like supposed to be uplifting, but it's on the other side of fear lies awesomeness.
Amazing
in my
things.
Opinion. Yeah. I think push past it, and fear can manifest itself in many ways. Like, I am absolutely petrified for what the future holds for me and my family. Petrified. Kills me. But I also know that there's going to be some amazing times over the next couple of years as well, for different reasons. And it's holding on and surrounding myself with people that are going to help me through these next few years. And this business is one of them, because we love it. And we wouldn't get up every single day and do what we do if we didn't.
No. And I have been conscious of, like, I want you to spend the time that you need away from the business, but I can also see how you don't want to do that either. Because of everything it stands for, and because it helps you keep driving that mission forward and doing all the things that you know will come off the back of it eventually to help your family and everything. So I don't want to influence you to do that, but sometimes I do go, Jo, just stop for a minute.
And this is the fun of having a dynamic of it too, isn't it? It's like we're always trying to look out for the other.
Yeah.
But then we've got the business. And I think this is where, communication is key.
But that is such like, I think that, again, I'm going to get all bloody gushy about this, but like we had a bit of a cry in Spain, didn't we, together? Because we just started talking about how, because of that communication, that ability to talk, and because we know each other so bloody well, and like I need probing, and it hasn't taken Jo long to figure that out. And so she will not let things go with me. And I'm such a closed book sometimes with, no, I've got this. I can do it by myself. I don't need anyone helping me, because I really find it really hard to accept help. I've got better with it, but I do still struggle. And that's another thing that with the Gareth thing as well. In the past, I have struggled to accept his help. But also I know I need it drawing out of me. And you're so good at drawing it out of me, because it must be so obvious with the way that I act when there's something wrong. Like, I don't think I am, but I must be.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think just I'm like covering it up really well.
No.
She's like, what is it? Nothing, I'm fine. No, you're not. What is it? Nothing, I'm fine. Maybe it's this. Okay, what else? Nothing. She does this to our coaching clients as well. What else? Nothing. Oh, okay. And I start blotting my eyes out. Go, oh, it's this, it's that. She's like, see, I knew it was there. I knew it had to come out.
It does. Everything has to come out.
But then on the flip side, I know you like to take that role of taking care of everybody and being the person that everyone leans on. And in doing that, you sometimes, like, this is why I think you've got ill this last week. Yeah, she's feeling a bit shitbag at the moment. And worried about your voice holding out yesterday, but I think we're all good at the moment.
Yeah, it's done well today.
Yeah, but I do think that's why, because, you strategically get up really early, and when people hear this, they go, what? You get up at 3 a.m? But you have to, because working around the kids and Darren's job and like stuff like that. But yeah, I think sometimes it takes me to sometimes go, Jo, just stop. I'll do that. Which you do find it really hard.
Yes.
To do.
Yeah, we do. And there will be loads of people out there that I think can connect to both sides of that. And I think that's the important bit, to see that whatever your own quirks are and how you work, somebody else has got them. It's normal.
But the thing about all of this growth journey for me is I'm finding out where these blockers come from for me. That's why I get emotional. I never used to cry. Ever, never, ever. I was like made of stone. Peeking under a stone. Private joke. Like I was made of stone, and I was like, it's a sign of weakness. That's how I used to look at it. I'm just so bloody stupid, aren't I? Mm-hmm. And now I'm like, I can uncover and discover why I've got those feelings that I've got, why I can't do certain things or couldn't do certain things before. And it's like this floodgate is open of revelation, because I'm unpeeling the layers of myself. And who knew that starting this business and having the drive to help other people would help ourselves so much on this journey. And again, anyone who's going through that change themselves, you may well resonate with this, that you are discovering more about yourself than anything else in your business.
Yeah.
And it's so...
And this is where it gets really hard for people, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like, oh, this is hard. This is uncomfortable. I'm going to try and switch it off, and I'm going to try and separate the business from my home life. I'm like, I just don't think it's possible. I think everything is always together. And don't get me wrong, there are tactics you can implement to keep the two separate. But arguably, and this probably is a little bit controversial, and it's only my opinion, I don't think they need to be that separate if you get it right. Because if you love what you do wholeheartedly, that should fill your love cup everywhere else. Because I know when I was in corporate, I didn't love that job, but I did it. And arguably that was your air quote 9 to 5, although it's more like 5 to 10, AM to PM. I brought that home more than anything.
And you didn't have to?
All the shit. Like,
did you have to or did you not? It was your choice.
I felt like I had to because of the amount of work that was on. But I brought all that baggage home. Like, I was miserable all the time. Whereas now, yes, arguably I will sit there in the kitchen with the boys having their breakfast or playing, and I'll be doing the occasional voice note to clients or whatever it is. And some people looking on that will go like, well, that's unacceptable because that's your time with your family. And I'm like, I spend all my time with my family. That's my goal. So I'm blending the two. I'm not switching off completely. But if I can do a bit of both and fill up the cup that I need to fulfill, which is actually, I do want to help someone. And if I can help someone with a 2-minute voice note, because actually the whole business structure is right and people aren't taking the piss and I'm not sat there all day doing it, there's the difference. Whereas actually if I'm sat there for 6 hours playing cars and trains with the boys and I do 3 notes, I do 3 voice notes in that time period, to me, I'm good with that. And then I have other days where I'm dedicated to go, right, everybody fuck off. This is a work day. I'm busy. I'm on back-to-back calls.
But the perception of someone else seeing you do those 3 voice notes, for example, in that time period is, God, she's always working. God, she never gets off her phone. God, like, can't she just switch off and be present with the kids?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what you get, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I felt exactly the same with, just put your phone down. Phone's down. Like, we have this thing at home where it's like, right, going to watch the TV, which is very rare in our house, by the way. Like, our lounge doesn't get used Monday to Friday, pretty much. Like, phone's down, we're going to sit there and watch TV. And then something pings up. And it isn't an obsession with it at all. It's just like, it depends what it is. I'll have a look and go, oh yeah, I'll leave that. Or it's actually, I do need to get back to that. And I want to get back to that because it's going to help. Same thing. It's going to help somebody. And if it gets it done and it's done with, great. We said phones down. Like, I know we said phones down. However, this is like a 2-minute thing. It's like, we get this like huffy puffy thing. So yeah, I totally get that. Yeah. But again, I'm doing it because I want to. I can. And it's done with really quickly.
It's not the burnout. It's not the miserable thing. It's because we've created something that.
And it isn't because I had to, because I could leave it. Yeah. I could absolutely leave it, or you would pick it up, or vice versa. Like, if you go back to somebody straight away, I could pick it up. But if you're there and you can do it, it's done, isn't it? So
yeah. Right, let's end it there.
All teared out.
I know.
Oh God, what do I look like? For those people who are watching, oh my God.
We hope you found that episode helpful. Like we say, we really wanted to just
raw and reel it.
We're real people. We get it. We see you. We're here.
Raw and real, my stomach will not stop rumbling. I'm sure you can pretty much hear, unless they do a really good editing job on this one. My God, I need to go and eat.
But no, we'll leave you with this, that, we love you all. You are all doing amazing and you're not alone.